Wow, so glad to have you again on the program, Healthy Living. I am Blessing of Formio. Today we are talking about fibroid, the causes of fibroid, and also the cure. My guest on today's episode is a nutritionist, no other person but Reverend Tony Akinyemi. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
My pleasure to be here with you again. It's always a very wild time.
Yes. And you're always looking glowing.
Thank you. And you too.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
So we are looking at a very typical topic.
Right.
Fibroid, which is really common in the life of women.
Yeah.
What are the causes of fibroid?
Big question. I was listening to a professor of gynecology and obstetrics on a TV interview.
Okay.
Not quite long ago. And they asked him the question. They said, "What is fibroid?" And he said, "It is the muscle of the uterus gone crazy." That was the way that the professor, defined fibroid. He said the muscle of the uterus, of the womb, gone crazy. So what causes it? Well, they say quite often etiology unknown. In other words, we cannot pinpointedly say that this is what causes it.
Okay.
But there are things that can give us some clues as to what could be responsible. Now, I am not a medical doctor. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a natural health advocate. And so in the natural health community, there are postulations to say, okay, these and these and these are the things that could be responsible. So I'll just allude to some of them. Primarily, in my personal considered opinion, hormonal imbalance is a major contributing factor. And I would say in particular, estrogen dominance. When estrogen is too high, it dominates the other reproductive hormones or sex hormones like progesterone, prolactin, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and what have you. Once estrogen is too high, there is a state of estrogen dominance, and estrogen then becomes the fertilizer that fertilizes the muscle of the womb and makes it to go crazy. So it grows into a tumor. I've heard people who speculate that if a woman doesn't get pregnant on time and start having children on time, that the womb does not like a vacuum. That if you don't put the babies there, then the womb will develop its own. But I don't subscribe to that. I do not subscribe to that. I do believe that it is the excessive amount of estrogen and coupled with low level of iodine in our diet that contributes to that process. And the whole process of fibroid growth is a process of inflammation. It's an inflammatory process. So if there is hyperinflammation, if there is iodine deficiency, if there is hormone disruption, using those hormone disruptors I mentioned in some of our previous episodes, and then you have estrogen dominance, then that is a recipe for the growth of fibroid. Because as you will see as we continue this conversation, in my approach to addressing fibroid, the plan I have developed, nutritional, dietary, lifestyle, supplement plan, actually takes these issues I have mentioned one by one and tackles them. If you tackle inflammation, tackle iodine deficiency, tackle estrogen dominance, hormonal imbalance, and you tackle all the things, all the factors that contribute to fibroid development, you find out that you see the fibroid shrinking and going back and getting out of the way. It takes a lot of time, but it depends on, we take each case and deal with it on its own merit. It's not the same plan I recommend for Mrs. A that I will recommend for Mrs. B. It all depends on the profile of each person. That will determine the best approach to handling each person's case. It's not one size fits all.
Okay. So does it have a particular age that fibroid will start growing in the womb of the woman?
Definitely, you can't find a young girl of 8, 9, 10 developing fibroid, until they have reached puberty and they have, started their monthly menstrual cycle, usually in the reproductive years.
Okay.
From menarche to menopause.
Okay.
Menarche is the onset of menstruation. Menopause is the cessation of menstruation.
Okay.
So fibroids develop from menarche to menopause.
Okay.
And once a woman becomes menopausal, again, her hormonal profile will change. Even if she had fibroid that she was carrying from her reproductive years into her menopausal years, you see the fibroid will start shrinking once it gets into her menopausal years.
Okay.
Because of the changes in hormones in her body.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially I would say fibroids come up only during reproductive years, when a woman is capable of getting pregnant and having children.
Okay. There are some women who have undergone series of operation via fibroid, and the fibroid kept on growing. That's
one of the things you see when you do the traditional approach. Traditional approach essentially is surgery in this part of the world. In other parts of the world, they have developed other approaches to addressing fibroid. There's one that is called UFE, for example, uterine fibroid embolism.
Okay.
Now, what they do in that is it's a minor surgery, not a major surgery, open surgery like the one we do here in this country. They perforate a little hole, so to speak.
Okay.
And they use kind of camera to guide, to locate the blood vessel that is feeding the fibroid, because the fibroid is a tumor, and tumors are usually very greedy. Every food that the woman eats, majority of the nutrients will be gulped by the fibroid, because it wants to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And now, the fibroid also has a particular, all tumors generally, they have a particular behavior. We call it angiogenesis.
Okay.
That is a situation where the tumor begins to grow new blood vessels in different directions, because it wants to be sucking food from every direction, So that process of growing blood vessels is called angiogenesis.
Okay.
So in uterine fibroid embolism, you identify the blood vessels that are feeding the fibroid, and then you create an embolism, a kind of blockage. You just block the blood vessel. It's like you're cutting off the supply of blood that is carrying nutrients, that is feeding it. So you are starving the tumor.
Okay.
Over the next couple of weeks or months, the thing will then shrink and starve to death. Okay? There is another procedure that they just announced in Nigeria this year, 2021, which I saw on the television.
Okay.
I think there's a clinic in Lagos here now where they do another one that is non-invasive. I have not studied the procedure properly to know precisely how it works, how the mechanism of action, but they say it's a non-invasive procedure where, again, the fibroid is targeted and shrunken.
Okay.
Okay, and they can get it out of the way. So that is how they deal with fibroid. Now, if you deal with fibroid that way, what you have done is that, okay, a plant is growing here, and you simply get there and you cut the plant off.
Without uprooting
it. Without also looking at whether there are other seeds in the ground that are yet to germinate. That because the soil is very conducive, it just needs a little watering and a little sunshine, and the other seeds will start germinating again. So the terrain is important, and then the plant itself is important. If you do surgery to remove fibroid, you don't change the parameters in the terrain. You don't change the hormonal profile. Okay. There is still estrogen dominant. In other words, the fertilizer is still there.
It's still there.
The other seeds will still be fertilized. Yes. And they will still grow. It's a matter of 1 to 2 years. There is recurrence. Another one will grow back. You have not changed the pH of the person's body. Okay. You have not detoxified the body. You have not dealt with the deficiencies in the person's body, like iodine deficiency, for example. That atmosphere in that person's body is still very, very suitable to grow another fibroid. So I tell folks that if you do surgery for your fibroid, I don't have a problem with that. But don't just go and do Thanksgiving in church and think everything is fine without changing your diet, your lifestyle, to reconfigure and reprogram the entire terrain of your body to make it hostile for the growth of fibroid in the future. Then you can prevent recurrence, because there are 5 steps in dealing with any disease. The first step is to understand the causes, what caused this problem. The second one is to look at what are the aggravating factors. What are the things that make the disease process to get worse? Number 3, in the meantime, what palliatives can I use to improve my quality of life? Number 4, is there a permanent cure to get rid of this problem? That's the curative. And once you find a curative, which could be a miracle from God, which could be medical procedure, which could be natural solution, whatever the curative method, as long as it is legitimate, it is not satanic, it is not, fetish, right? Then you get the cure. After the cure, for example, if a woman has fibroid and it goes for surgery and they take the surgery out, that's a cure more or less, because the fibroid has been taken out of the way. But you don't stop there. You go to number 5.
Okay.
How do I live my life so as not to recreate this problem? That's preventive. Many people get to here and they stop. They don't move on to preventive. And the preventive has to do with making sure that the conditions in your environment, the environment of your body, that is, that made the fibroid to grow, that condition changes. So that the fibroid won't grow again. That's how to make sure after surgery you don't get it back. Because if you don't, it will always grow back. A woman came to me the other day. She had had fibroid surgery 4 times. And the fibroid was back the 5th time. And now, she said, never again. I don't want to go under the knife again. I just want to know if there's any other thing I can do. Fortunately, she has had all her children. So I said, well, medically speaking, one option for you is to do a hysterectomy. Hysterectomy is to surgical removal of the womb. Just take the womb out. But that has implications. Usually, they don't tell women that if you take out your womb, it has implications. It will generate some symptoms that you will live with for the rest of your life.
Really?
Yeah. Particularly if you are a woman who is still in your reproductive years. It forces you into what we call surgical menopause. Because if there's no womb, there's no menstruation anyway. So that is that. Then the womb is not just for producing baby. The womb also helps in hormonal balancing. And once you take it out, particularly if it's a radical kind of hysterectomy where they also take the ovaries out. The ovaries produce a lot of hormones that help to profile your body. Once you take your womb and your ovaries out, come on, hot flashes, mood swing, night sweat. Everybody is feeling cold, you are feeling warm. Everybody's feeling hot, you are feeling cold. All kinds of things will start happening. And now you start taking medication to manage all those symptoms for the rest of your life. That's not worth it in my view. So hysterectomy for me is not the way to go when it comes to fibroid. But if it's a life-threatening tumor, maybe it's a cancerous tumor, uterine tumor, cancerous tumor now. Yeah, you can get rid of the cancer and manage the inconveniences that will follow. You know, it's a trade-off. But for fibroid, I think surgery should be the last resort. Again, it also depends on the case of the woman. I can go into the details if we get there.
All right. In case you're just joining us, it is Healthy Living, and we are talking on fibroid, the causes of fibroid. And our guest today is a nutritionist, Reverend Tony Akinyemi. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you been through stuffs and you survived? Guess what? It's time to set your world on fire. You never know who needs your light, your warmth, and courage. You are a survivor, and that's amazing. I Am a Survivor is Reverend Tony Akinyemi's newest book. Hurry now, grab a copy from the TSS bookstore.
Welcome back. Good to know that you're still there. So before the break, you were telling us that there's this woman that came to you saying that she having fibroid for the 5th time, that she
Yeah.
don't want to go under the 9th. So what was your advice to her?
Yes, I have a plan that I have developed for addressing fibroid for those that the plan will be suitable for. Like I said, it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
I tend to divide fibroids into 2 categories.
Okay.
I use layman's language to make it simple. I call certain types of fibroids troublesome fibroids, and some types non-troublesome fibroid. And I will explain what I mean. I consider fibroid troublesome to a woman if the following things happen. 1, some fibroids are so big the woman feels that she's pregnant.
Yes.
It could be socially embarrassing. Everybody says, yeah, congrats,
Thank
oh,
God,
madam, oh, you know. And yet the woman knows that this is not pregnancy, this is fibroid. You know, so she feels embarrassed. There's this social embarrassment. That is the kind of fibroid that is troublesome, number 1. Number 2, some fibroids are so big, they compress the bladder,
Okay.
where urine should gather. And so because it has compressed the bladder, the bladder fills up very quickly. So you see the woman going to the toilet every 45 minutes. You know, that will disrupt your day. That's another troublesome fibroid. For some, it gives them lower abdominal pain.
Okay.
Some even back pain. And for some women, it actually also makes them to have hypermenorrhea. In other words, they bleed excessively, particularly if the fibroid is located on the portion of the womb where there is a rich blood supply.
Okay.
It could even be very small. It doesn't have to be big. The location, it matters, you know. And if it makes a woman to bleed and bleed and bleed, they can bleed until they become anemic. And they start feeling dizzy and fainting. Then it's a troublesome fibroid. Or if the fibroid is so big and its location is preventing successful pregnancy and gestation period. Maybe the woman gets pregnant and within 8 weeks, 9 weeks, the pregnancy comes down because there's no space for the baby to grow. So that, to me, is a troublesome fibroid. So if a person's fibroid is giving all this, becomes a nuisance,
Okay.
I classify it as troublesome. If it is not giving any of these problems, in fact, some women don't even know that they have fibroid.
Yes.
Maybe they were trying to conceive, they couldn't get pregnant, and they now went for tests. Or they started feeling some other symptoms, and it was accidentally discovered.
Yes.
Which means that the woman was carrying the fibroid. She didn't even know she had fibroid.
Yes.
That is a non-troublesome fibroid, you know.
There are a lot of cases like that.
Yeah, like that. So the recommendation I make to each person depends on whether your fibroid is troublesome or not troublesome. If it is the one that is making a woman to bleed and bleed and bleed, and it can make her to suffer from what we call cardiac distress because of low blood level, because she's losing a lot of blood, I would say, please, go and do surgery so we can arrest that one. If it is so big and it makes you feel like 7 months pregnant, and it's embarrassing, you go and take it out immediately. I will now work with you to make sure that you change your diet, your lifestyle, and do some other things to prevent it from growing back. Okay, but for this woman that you asked, for example, she's already had surgery 4 times. She doesn't want a 5th one. Unfortunately, she has all her children, because one of the other things I also ask is, how old are you?
Okay.
And have you had all your children, or you are still believing God for the fruit of the womb?
Okay.
Those will guide me to know what to recommend, what to
Okay.
suggest to you. Now, if you have had all your children and you are not looking for the fruit of the womb, then that means you are not under pressure to get pregnant. Because it takes approximately 7 months to 12 months of changing your diet and your lifestyle and adjusting your whole body for the fibroid to completely melt away.
Wow.
Now, imagine a woman who is already 42, 45. She wants to get pregnant. There's fibroid, and you are asking her to wait for another 12 months to first of all deal with the fibroid. She doesn't have time. For that woman, I would say, go and do surgery, because that's the quickest way to get the fibroid out. When you do the surgery, then I will help you with my diet plan, lifestyle plan, supplement plan, to make sure you don't grow it back, so that you can quickly get pregnant, you know, and have your babies before you enter into menopause. Of course, even if you enter menopause, it's still possible with technology to still be able to get pregnant. That's not a big deal, but it's better to have it when you are younger, because the stress is less. Your body, your shock absorber is able to carry it more than in older years. So for her, because she was not under pressure, I put her under my plan. And the plan has many prongs. The first plunge is number one, because it's an inflammatory process, we deal with inflammation. So I give anti-inflammatory agents. Okay. Things like turmeric, things like omega-3 oil, those are anti-inflammatory agents. So we control hyperinflammation. I explained angiogenesis the other time.
Yes.
Where the tumor grows new blood vessels. There are certain foods, for instance, that you eat that will block that process, that will not allow the tumor to grow new blood vessels.
Okay.
They are called anti-angiogenic foods. Things like shark liver oil or shark cartilage. They contain a substance known as alkyl glycerol, which is a kind of fatty acid, which blocks the process of angiogenesis. So I will recommend some anti-angiogenic foods to that person. Then number three, I also know that fibroids, being tumors, they have a coating. Every tumor has a capsule. They kind of encapsulate themselves to shield themselves and hide themselves from the immune system. Because if your immune system knows that there is a growth that is not supposed to be there, your immune system will attack it. But they don't want that attack, so they shield themselves. So you have to look for things to take off that coating, remove the mask, remove the masquerade.
Okay.
So that your immune system sees that, oh, this growth is here. And then it mobilizes and goes there to start launching an attack against it. Now, so we remove the fibrin coating by giving proteolytic enzymes to such a person to be able to, and then we try to also detoxify the person, because tumors grow when the body is toxic. And when you clean out the body, growth doesn't happen well. Then we try to change the pH level in the body. If the body is acidic, tumors grow. If the body is alkaline, tumors shrink. So you shift the person's body pH from the acidic range into the alkaline range by adjusting the kind of food the person eats. There are certain foods you eat that will make your body acidic. There are other foods you eat that will make your body alkaline. So you guide the person to eat more of the alkaline forming food and less of the acid forming food. So the pH of the body changes from the acidic range to the alkaline range. Then you look at the oxygen level of the person's body. A highly oxygenated body does not favor the growth of fibroid tumor. But a low oxygen body favors it, because tumors are anaerobic cells. They don't like oxygen. So you oxygenate the person's body through various channels. It can be through exercise, it can be through using substances that can boost oxygen intake. It could be through ozone therapy, through exercise with oxygen therapy, different kinds of ways to oxygenate the body. So you can see it's a multi-pronged approach. It's not just striking, you are changing the pH of the body, the oxygen level of the body, the toxic level in the body, the inflammation in the body, the process of angiogenesis, then anti-tumoral agents, everything put together. And there are different substances that can be administered to accomplish that. And once you get that, you see the tumor will start shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until it degenerates completely and it's no longer there.
Okay. I've seen cases where some women, until they are pregnant, that was when they discover that they are having a fibroid. Now, is there symptom of fibroid for one to know that, yes, she is suffering from fibroid?
Like I said, typically some kind of fibroids will not even show any symptom at all. A symptom is a sign to let you know that something is going on in your body. But quite often it doesn't show any sign until it gets to a certain stage when some signs begin to show up. For some, it is excessive bleeding. That's when they will now know that, okay, what's making me to bleed? And they now go to the hospital.
During their menstrual flow?
Yeah, during their menstrual flow. Some of them will bleed for more than 5 days, maybe 7 days, maybe 2 weeks. Some of them, the flow will be so heavy, heavy clots will be coming out. And then they now go to the doctor says, go and do abdominal scan. Then they now say, there's fibroid there, For some, it is lower abdominal pain. They start feeling. That gives them the, okay, maybe something is wrong. They go and do a scan, they find out, oh, it is there. For some people, they lie on their back, and maybe they are using their hand to palpate their tummy. And they just find something, like a stone here, you know. They are not feeling any pain, no discomfort, but they see that something is hard. that is in this place. Then you go and do a scan and it will establish, okay, there's fibroid there. So it depends, you know.
So just before we go, for the interest of our viewers and listeners, now apart from surgery, the permanent cure, is there really permanent cure?
The permanent cure is change the terrain of your body, reconfigure your body. If your body is alkaline, well oxygenated, well detoxified, and there is no low-grade acidosis, no hyperinflammation, there is no way fibroid will grow inside that kind of a body. Your hormones are balanced, fibroid will not grow there. You create the recipe to make it grow, and you can change that recipe. So there's no pill somewhere that if you buy this pill and you start taking it every day, then you will never have fibroid. There's nothing like that. The only thing to do is to make sure all these parameters are good. Your body is well detoxified, your body is alkaline, your body is well oxygenated, and then your pH is in the alkaline range, and your hormones are balanced. That's it. To balance your hormone is simple. Avocado, pear, tiger nuts. You know, we mentioned that when we're dealing with female infertility.
Yes.
Yeah. If you eat avocado regularly, it is not a cure for fibroid, but it helps in balancing your hormones. And once your hormones are balanced, fibroids don't grow. Yeah.
Okay, so now you talk about the tiger nut and avocado pear.
Yeah.
Is it every morning or anytime the
Ideally,
person feels
if somebody already has fibroid, I would say every morning because it's a therapy.
Okay.
Then you add turmeric to it as an anti-inflammatory agent. Okay. You can add some omega-3 oil, flaxseed oil, udo's oil, fish oil as another anti-inflammatory agent, and they are also anti-angiogenic agents. Okay. And you can add some other things to it like that. So if you are dealing with fibroid, I would say every day, make it your breakfast.
All right.
You can change the flavor by changing the different condiments and spices that you add. Today you can add a little bit of carob to make it chocolate flavor. Okay. Tomorrow you can add a little bit of vanilla to make it vanilla flavor. Next time you can add something else, you know, so that it's not boring.
Okay.
Okay. But of course you have your lunch and your supper where you eat your salad before your food, your salad before your food, and there are some supplements you also need to take at the same time. Yeah, but if you don't have fibroid and you just want to live a healthy lifestyle to prevent fibroid, then you don't have to take it every day. But at least twice a week will be fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time on this program.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. All right, we've come to the end of the program. Don't forget to reach us on 081-8811-112 or 081-5139-3141 for your questions and also for more advice if you're going through fibroid. My guest has been Reverend Tony Akinyemi, and I am Blessing of Fomio. We'll do it again next week.